So this is my 6-inch quad, which I've been running KISS on for a while now, and I've been having oscillation issues on and off with it for a while. So I thought it would be cool to see if I could try to take this full KISS setup with the 24 amp race edition ESCs and the KISS flight controller. So everything's KISS. I want to see if I could put Betaflight on this whole build and see if I can get everything to work. So my goal here is to not only get Betaflight on KISS, which I know is possible, they have the firmware for that and everything, but I also want to see if I can get the ESC telemetry to work, and if I can get the flight controller to send that information to the OSD that I'm already using, which is this, the Micro MinimOSD. So I'll probably have to flash the multi-Wii OSD firmware onto this thing, and then Betaflight onto the flight controller, and we'll see if we can get everything to work so that I basically have changed nothing in this build except the firmware, but keeping all KISS stuff, but I'll be running all Betaflight. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so I actually just did this, so I'm not going to be able to show all the parts, but I will walk you through them. I'm not going to do all of them again because I actually can't figure out how to do some of them again. But anyways, first thing you have to do is go to the releases page of Betaflight and download the KISS FC hex file, whatever the latest version of Betaflight is. Go ahead and download that, and then the way we're going to put this on the KISS flight controller is to put the flight controller in DFU mode and then upload it from there. So how to do that is on the flight controller there's a little boot button, or if you have an older version of the KISS flight controller there's actually two pads. So either solder across those two pads or hold down the boot button and plug in the flight controller. So I'm gonna press the boot button and plug the flight controller in, and then whoops, we're going to go into DFU SE, which is how you usually upgrade stuff for the KISS flight controller. That's how you usually upgrade the firmware. And this should just say STM32 device in DFU mode or something like that, but I can't get it to pick it up anymore because of a step I am about to show you. But anyways, you're going to go to the upload, hit choose, change this to all files, and then find that hex file right here, hit save, replace, and then you're going to hit upgrade right there, which I can't hit because I already did that. And then once that works, just keep holding down that button, and you actually have to download this thing called Zadig, this thing, or you might have to actually. The first thing you want to do is actually go into Betaflight and check to see if you have this option of DFU mode, because that's what you want. I didn't have that. I only had these two COM ports, which neither of them were correct. So you actually have to use Zadig to make that work. So what you're going to do is hit options and then list all devices, and you want to find STM32 bootloader. Click on that and then just hit the install driver, and that makes it so that this Chrome web app can actually detect the DFU device. So now what we're going to do is go into the firmware flasher of Betaflight, select the KISS FC, wherever it was, right there, and then we'll hit the latest firmware. We'll do full chip erase and everything, load the firmware, and flash. Okay, so that should have worked. I'm going to unplug. I'm going to stop pressing the bootloader button, and now we'll plug it in again without pressing the boot button. Now we have a new COM port, COM 10. I used to only have 1 and 4, so that should be the right one. And we'll hit connect. And look at that, we have Betaflight on the KISS flight controller. So next we will go in and mess with all the settings so we get everything working. So I figured out to get the receiver connected. I didn't have to mess with any of this. It already has one of the UARTs here set to serial RX, so that worked. But you do have to go into the configuration and make sure you're on serial base. Well, actually, I'm on Spektrum, so this is for me if you're on Spektrum. I had to do serial base receiver and then select Spektrum 2048 because that's what I'm using. Obviously, if you're using a different radio system, it's going to be different for you, but actually I didn't have to like re-solder the connectors on here to a different location or anything, which I thought I might have to do. And then, let's see, we'll go ahead and change the ESC protocol to DSHOT-600 just for fun. And then down here on other features, we're gonna do on-screen display and then ESC sensor, and that says use KISS ESC 24-amp telemetry as sensor. So hopefully that will give us the OSD functionality that we're looking for, and I'll be able to use this thing to, or still be able to use this thing as my OSD and still get current readings. So I'll hit save and reboot, and then connect it again, and we'll hop into receiver, and I have my transmitter on, and you can see we have inputs, but these are not going as far as they need to go. As you can see, you want it to be this, like at full anything, you want it to be 1000 on the low end and 2000 on the high end. So I'm going to jump into servo setup here and then fix that. So it looks like everything is good. It's about as close to 1500 I'm going to get for there. And then, let's see, what do we have? Center, deadband, blah, blah, blah. I don't want any of that. Modes, alright. So in the upper two positions, or two forward-most positions, I want it armed. So I'm just going to drag this slider like this. And then air mode, I'm going to do on the same switch, but only in the highest position. This is what I do in KISS, except it's just an idle up switch actually. And now we'll test the motors. So have all my props off like a good person. Make sure we're not going to short anything out. Don't have your wires hang out like this, by the way. That's a terrible idea. So we will plug in. No smoke. I understand the risk, so I don't even know if the motor mapping is right for this, so we're going to find out. Hold this up so hopefully you can see. So we have our little diagram here, so we'll go spool 1 up. That's right. 2's right. 3's right. 4, oh, that's sweet. I don't have to do any soldering. And then check the directions. Those should all be the same. Yep. Perfect. Alright, that's awesome. So, motors are good. Actually, let's test the gyros. Will this let me arm while it's plugged in? Hello. I don't think so. Did I save the modes? No, I did not save. Okay. Do it again. Hit save this time. Okay, now it should work. Make sure. All right, that's right for the PID loop. I'm gonna test my inputs real quick. Yaw is correct. Pitch is correct. Roll is correct. Perfect. All right, that's sweet. So I don't have to didn't have to change any reversing or motor mapping or anything. You didn't have to change where the wires were, so that is sweet. I'm really excited for this now. Alright, so I think that's all I want to do. Actually, I'll type in my rates real quick. I think they're the same as KISS. So that is nice. So 1.35, 1.35, and then I think I do 0.75 on everything. 1080? That's not the same. That's pretty close. Oh wait, do I do just 1.3 straight up? Yeah, okay, I do 1.3. Yeah, so the rate system is exactly the same, or theoretically is, as KISS. So that's sweet. I can use my same rates because I know this is my max rotational velocity, 1040. And I don't run any expo on my yaw. I do run a little bit on pitch and roll, but I mean, you can see the curves. There's a ton of expo because of the rates, basically. Alright, so now I think that's it for as much as I want to mess with all this stuff. I'm going to leave all this stock because I don't really know what it does. Here we have our fancy filters. I'm going to leave this stock just to see how it flies. Now we're going to deal with the OSD. First thing you have to do before we plug anything in is go to the MultiWii OSD release page, and the latest one is 1.7, but I'm not going to use that because you have to pay to use the GUI for that, so I'm just going to use 1.6. I already have it downloaded, but you can go ahead and download that and then extract it. I have it in my downloads folder, 1.6. Now we'll go ahead and connect our OSD, so I have an FTDI adapter here, and we're just going to plug it into the OSD and then plug the FTDI into a micro USB cable like that. And we'll open the MultiWii OSD folder, which contains all of the code files, and then we're going to open the MultiWii or mw_osd.ino, which is the MultiWii OSD code file basically. So that's going to be opened up on Arduino. A note, you probably are going to have to use this version of Arduino, 1.0.5, which is not the latest version, in order to be able to select the correct board to program with one of these FTDI adapters. So under Tools, first of all, you want to have the right serial port. For me, it's COM5, and then the board you want to select Arduino Pro or Pro Mini, 5V, 16 megahertz with the ATmega 328. That's the one you want for using this micro MinimOSD. Make sure that's correct, and then we will upload it. And we'll come back when that is done. And you can see the lights are going nuts because it is uploading. And that's how you know you have the right COM port and everything selected, because the transmit and receive lights will go crazy. Okay, so it is done uploading. We're going to go and close Arduino. Now we're back in the MultiWii OSD 1.6 folder, and this time we're going to open up the OSD GUI folder, and I'm just going to go to Windows 32 and then open this executable file, which is the GUI to adjust all the options. Okay, so we are going to first get the font in order because we are running KISS. We still have the KISS font loaded onto this right now. So I'm going to hit select. And what you want to look for, if you haven't already looked for it, is go to your MultiWii OSD folder, go to the plain old OSD. Oops, hold on. OSD, is it in the GUI? I don't know. Oh, it's in the GUI. And then go to data in the GUI folder, and then You can pick whatever. I like bold because I can see it better. I feel like the default's too thin to really read easily, so I'm going to go with the bold font. Okay, font file loaded, and we're going to hit upload. Oh wait, I have to. And sorry about that. Going to select the COM port first. So to be connected, I can't really upload anything. If we, okay, we're going to select it again just for good measure. And now we'll upload it. Alright, so now you can see right here it's telling us it's uploading the characters. There's 256 characters, so we have to wait for that. Okay, so that's done now. And now we're going to mess with all these settings. I'm just going to disconnect and connect again just because we did the font. So it's reading everything. You can see the font actually changed up here because we've loaded a different font. Okay, so we have all these different settings. So you can set these to whatever you want. I'm going to turn off the GPS stuff because I don't have a GPS. And turn off the compass stuff. I don't really want anything, so heads-up display, don't want the horizon bar or anything. Flight mode, I will leave that so I can see if I'm in air mode or not. All this other stuff, whatever. Timer, sure, whatever, we'll leave the timer. And then, really all I want is voltage, amps, and milliamp hours. So we have voltage here. I don't even know where it's going to get this from, so I'm going to say use the flight controller main voltage, and hopefully that will use whatever the flight controller is figuring out for the voltage. I'm going to leave the rest stock for the voltage adjustment and everything. We'll have to mess with that later. And then amps, display milliamp hours. And I'll say use flight controller amperage. I will have to see if this works. I will come back and tell you if it does or does not. And we'll leave the calibration the same. And we'll leave off RSSI. Okay, so up here we have our little preview. Yes, so volt, amps, milliamp hours, and timer. So that looks good to me. And then our flight mode. Alright, I like that. And then, oh, and down in the bottom we have our modes. So our only modes we're going to be using are, I don't know, ARM, well, whatever. That doesn't even have air. Wait, air mode down here. We want to make sure that one's on. And then, I don't know, just leave the rest stock. Alright. So let's hit write. Okay, so it's written. Now we will close this. Now I'm going to go and solder up this back how it was before, and we will see if this actually works. Okay, so I had to change a few things in Betaflight and actually do some soldering to get the OSD to work. So the soldering that I had to do was take all of the telemetry wires coming off of the ESCs and solder them to this pad right here, which is RX3, which is smack in the middle of the bottom of the board. So that is one of the UARTs basically. So that UART is UART3, and I have that set in Betaflight as a sensor input. And in this drop-down menu I have selected ESC, so that's how that works. And then for UART1, this is the same pads that send the signal to the OSD in when you're running KISS. It's the same pads, the TX and RX on the top, these two that you have connected to the OSD, and I just have it turned on as MSP, so that's how I have it all sending data to the OSD. And then in the configuration, we have the OSD and the ESC sensor turned on, and then for the battery voltage tab, I have the battery meter type as ESC sensor, and then the current meter as ESC sensor as well. And that was all I had to do to get the OSD to work. So now we have Betaflight on the KISS flight controller. We have the OSD working. So now the only thing left to do is fly it and tune it. So let's do that next. Alright, so hopefully you guys now have an idea, at least, of how to get Betaflight on your quad and see what it's like out there flying. Unfortunately, in that last crash, I did kill this motor, and as far as oscillations are concerned, Betaflight did fix some of the oscillations I was having on KISS, which was kind of my whole goal. However, I did have some oscillations just from having an unbalanced motor, so this motor here I need to fix. So I will be swapping out a couple more motors in the future, but it did help with that. As far as the feel is concerned, at first, without having touched the tune at all, with stock filters, stock PIDs, it was pretty responsive. However, I did not feel like I was like in the driver's seat necessarily. I did feel like there was something between me and the quad, whereas with KISS I never feel like that, probably because it doesn't have all the fancy schmancy filters and all that, and it's just more simplified. So after tuning, cranking up the iTerm a fair bit, and especially turning down the filters, and also turning off the weird things that Betaflight has it do with the D term on stock, I turned all that off, and that made it feel actually very similar to KISS in terms of feel. So in the end, I think Betaflight can require more fooling around, but it can also eliminate the hassle that you can get with, like, if you have things that are slightly off balance, it can just eliminate a lot of the oscillations just because of the way all those filters are set up. So, I mean, they both have their trade-offs. I will mention, though, that having the PIDs, being able to change them through the OSD was really handy. But, of course, after I was messing around on Betaflight, just the other day KISS released new firmwares for everything, and now they have that functionality with their OSD as well. So the playing field is more level now. They're always, you know, fighting against each other. So that was nice to see KISS coming out with that functionality as well, because it is super nice to be able to do that. Whether or not you should try it, that's really up to you. If you're having any kind of oscillation issues, you know, give it a shot. It doesn't cost you anything. It's like 4 wires to solder and then however much time it takes you to set everything up. So I think that's super cool how you can just take everything you have right now and try out a completely different firmware if you are running full KISS. So, you know, if you want to just see what the feature set is like, because Betaflight does have a lot more features than KISS, I'm not going to deny it. So go ahead, you know, flash it, try it out, or if you want to see how Betaflight feels. Honestly, I think they're pretty similar, like I said, once you get it all tuned up, but I mean, they are different, just like really not noticeably once you have it all tuned. So, as far as whether or not I'll go back to KISS, I would like to try out their new OSD and everything on this, so I probably am going to go back to what this thing was meant to run on, but it was handy having Betaflight, especially the motor test function that helped me diagnose this bad motor. So I'll probably go back to KISS, but hopefully this video helps you guys if you want to try out Betaflight, and I hope you guys enjoyed the flight footage as well. If you have any questions, comments, put them in the comments section below. Please like this video. It was a lot of work to make. I know it's super long, but I want to cover everything. And get subscribed if you like this whole idea of running a completely different firmware on a full KISS build. So, thanks for watching.